strong mix for you. That's where I'm working for right now. We have different customers in different models, and then at the end, we will just go and have a deep dive in tips on what, how, and the benefits and how you can have the what we are calling the proactive model. It's also usually getting together the vendors in the industry to help basically have same terminology, but till there, we're going to have different things for these. So right now, it could be the proactive model, CSM model, and that's going to be the emphasis. But we start all that journey by reviewing the promises of customer advocacy program. This is not, again, as you can see here, it's not for a beginner, let's say someone that's a newbie, just starting. And the reason for that is that I'm not going to be reviewing very basic technology and concepts. I just go directly take into consideration that you have a program or you know a little bit about that to the point that you just follow the different models and promises and what it means, let's say, to fulfill a request, a reference request. But I will try to do my best to explain a few things either way. So reviewing, when you're having a customer advocacy program, you have when you are developing, we're deploying a customer advocacy program, we have some promises that the marketing promises, let's say, that we hope to fulfill when you are investing in this kind of programs. The three main ones, in my opinion, there are many others. Maybe for your company, it could be the most important thing, a little something else, like, have an engaging community. Those are all promises of customer advocacy as well. But we can say that we have three that talks about also business impact, because some are vanity metrics that you just say, let's say we increase the number of engagements, or the engagement they have with a community. That's doesn't really tell business impact on that. But when you say close more deals faster, promote customer retention and promote an integrated ROI, which I will pin here, I will explain better later. Those are more like business impact. That's the reason I'm just ranking those three. And I would like to just tell a little bit more. Again, close more deals faster is when you can help the sales teams to showcase, let's say, a customer with the voice of the customer. We're using the voice of the customer to accelerate your deals, let's say, and connecting them, your happy customers, with prospects, so you can, I just say, shorten the sales cycle, right? That's one of the ways you can have also a bigger conversion rate when you are using advocacy programs. And again, that's just a review of that. We know that the programs that are effectively deployed, you can get up to 35% or 35%, yes, better conversion rate than, let's say, deals that are not using customer references. And the reason for that is very clear. We all know that customers trust all the customers. When you have a customer to tell what your product does, you are cutting the marketing promise, and you are giving a happy customer to say, yes, I'm using, and it works, let's say, right? And so it's shortening your sales cycle that way. The second one, customer retention, you're going to see that with this proactive model, between all of them, that's the best will promote customer retention, and we'll see that in details later on. But basically, in a nutshell, I'm going to do it now, since it's a review, this first slide. The customer retention, we are talking about when the customer is invested on you, they are doing trainings, they are, participating in your events, they are part of your CAB, your customer advisory board, they are influencing your product roadmap, and all those things. They are invested on you. They know about you. They know how to articulate your value proposition better than anyone. And those customers are very difficult to basically be stolen by your competitors. and it promotes customer retention. That's one of the things that we want to do with customer advocacy programs. And the other one is integrated ROI. It's a little bit more complicated, but again, these proactive model, CSM model, is the one that better also deliver on integrated ROI. Basically, we know that sometimes you are, let's say, giving away a bottle of wine to one of your customers. And what's the ROI of that? It's very difficult to know the ROI of a bottle of wine. We know that some countries you cannot do that, but some countries that's mandatory. But we can say the same thing about trainings. That like we most of us in this event today, we are technology-based companies, and we have certification programs. We have trainings that cost money, and you are in some of those trainings that are being given away as vouchers to key customers. And let me just see, no questions, no, yes. And how can you calculate and measure the ROI of that? So with customer advocacy programs, you can also integrate this ROI, invest in one customer, and see how they are giving back to the organization in terms of influence, revenue, engagement, of course, these speakers in events and all that stuff. And the one that the different models we promote more or less, and the one that we promote the most integrated ROI is definitely the proactive model, the one that we will focus today. But again, let's go into a review on a few operational models. And the first one, I'll just try to accelerate, is the pure evidence program model. The pure evidence program model is the first model. It's just a review again. What is the pure evidence program model? It's usually where most of the customers are right now. This is when your company, you have few people that is in charge of your content marketing strategy. Sometimes not even that, because that's not sometimes connected to any marketing automation strategy. But that team, what they would do is create customer stories, right? They will interview customers. They will well, okay, so let's talk about the services that this model can give. We are talking about an operational model that is receiving nominations from the field. You have probably a form or a platform that's doing that for you in capturing the nominations that are coming from sales teams, from marketers, or from partners, or from the customers themselves, depending on where you are, your company. So you are receiving nominations as part of your services. You are sometimes doing recruitment, because every a pure evidence program model is doing recruitment proactively. Sometimes they're just receiving nominations, that's it. But some are doing proactive recruitment, meaning that they're looking for different variables to filter the best customers and try to reach out to them and say, hey, are you willing to participate in a customer story or video? They are sometimes also providing industry decks to the sales teams, meaning that you have an intranet, maybe it's a SharePoint site that you have the best quotes from your customers, the best customer stories that you produced. You have all, let's say, in a deck divided by industry, and you are providing that always an updated industry deck with the best cases. You have video, you have written stories, video stories, you have social amplifiers, because every time some more mature programs, every time that they are producing a customer story, they are also producing all of the assets to try to amplify that through social media. And so the customers as well, they like to basically spread the news of the new piece of the new asset and evidence produced, so you can help them and their partners also do that. And you can help some of the peer evidence programs. They are only also what we call the owned advocates strategy, meaning that it's when your advocates are your employees, and you have, of course, it's not necessarily an advocate. I don't agree necessarily to call them advocates, because they are paid. That's the reason to say owned, right? So people that you own, that you're paying the salaries, but they are amplifying that. So these social assets are also used for a strategy for owned advocates, where you have platforms like Sociable, where you have a new story, a new quote, a new thing, and you share inside your company, so the other employees can do that as well and reshare and participate and create a buzz, right? Other services that we can see in this evidence model is internal asset library. An internal site library is that place that they will see all these stories, um, that they are in the quotes and everything that they are producing. But when you are a little bit more advanced in this model, you also have the extended asset library. That's something that we don't see many companies doing yet. The extended asset library, it's when you are also hooking uh, the evidence that's produced by third parties. You probably, as a technology-based company, um, you have partners, and your partners, they have customer cases as well, customer stories that are producing that. And maybe your customers, they are just doing a PR, a release on how they are using your products to disrupt the market. And it was just not driven by you. Themselves are they are promoting themselves, but that's something that mentions your company. In an extended asset library, those more advanced peer evidence programs they do is they also look for every asset that's produced by third party, your asset library, the extended asset library, advanced, but they are matching opportunities, open opportunities with your assets, with your customer stories automatically. Few softwares that do that, like HighSpot, Slap5, and other platforms, they would do that for you. That has an integration with your CRM, and when your sales teams are opening opportunities, they also can see, depending on the stage, depending on the product, depending on the country, they can see assets that they could leverage to accelerate that deal. So those things are also part of the services. They have incentives campaign. They are doing tech validate kind of stories that we usually call this scalable stories. So it's customer stories at scale. When you use a kind of survey platform, let's say an enterprise level, that you get a hero behind, you have a deep and well worked storytelling, but at least you can have assets. So usually this is a corporations, that's another thing, but also for the market where you cannot invest, let's say $4,000 to write a story, and it's a small customer, but that's not delivering that high value, let's say. But so Tech Validate is one of the tools. We have more tools that are coming up, just brand new, showing up on the market, that will help you do this kind of massive and stories at scale. That, in my opinion, it's good for SMB. In their opinion, they can do more than that. I don't think that they will ever replace the stories that you do with your enterprise, stories that you're probably doing now. Some we do also showcase management, that we have you are already forcing, and you are getting to different other models. So I will not even mention that. That's not what they do well. That's something that they can do, but it doesn't mean that you do well. And also, just finish, it has problems, right? This peer model. One of the problems they have is that it's a small coverage of SMB, unless of course you have the stack validate, but not many companies are doing this right now. It's difficult to be impact driven. You don't have a lot of ways to measure how your business. And if you do, that's a relation that it's hard to really fight, let's say. And but you can do some correlations, of course, of consumer stories with deals, but we know that it's not a very high touch point, right? And some are also doing reference activity in there. It's not an operation, but they will just knock the door and say, hey, it happens that, do you have uh, um, do you know about a customer that is, has these characteristics, or that we can use to win an RFP, let's say? And they will help, but that doesn't mean that you have an operation that has SLAs and can deal with the urgencies of sales, and that are continuously and week over week just increasing your footprint in the sales organization. So that leads us to the next model, which is one of the models that when you become a reference desk. It's also, I call it a transactional model. That's the reason I also have these people that looks like they are in a call center, because it's like a back office kind of service that you have a platform. It could be a platform like Slack5. There are many platforms on the market that does that. And you are waiting for the teams and the marketers to just open a request with you. And you have reference managers that will pick those requests up and match one of the references that you have in the database. I don't call that advocacy. I don't call them advocates. I call them reference, because a number of reasons that we will talk about this during this session. So the services that this reference desk is giving is usually all of the previous one that we're saying. They usually have customer stories. They have asset libraries, systematically helping to connect those guys that are recruiting the database, or they are recruiting actively new customers to other prospects. Whenever they receive a request, of course, they will just match that and promote the customer to customer call. They will have RFPs. They will look for speakers for events and feed the events of marketers globally where your marketers need for every country. They will help to push for online peer review reviews in peer review platforms like Peer Insights from Gartner, just as an example. Interviews with analysts in the analyst relations side. They will do all of that, but all of them in a transactional model, reactively. That's also called the reactive model. Many of you that are not here evidence stage, you are probably here a mix of those two, and you are doing a great job. That's a great way to start a program, and you can stay there for years, but it's not the only way to do that, right? That's the reason I'm talking about this today. The benefits are many. I talked about some of them. You do it programmatically. You have SLAs this time. You can say, I will finish I should finish every request an average of 5 days. In these cases, for specific cases, a little bit more or a little bit less. So, but you have SLAs, you can work as an operation, and you have to do strategic recruitment because you have to match what they are asking you, right? So you start to have things like 3x metrics to have the 3 times the amount of advocates that there was requested in previous, let's say, 6 months. That's something that this model you have. That's not the focus for today. There's a reason I don't have all of them in bullets here. Just a review again, but I want to spend some time in this review. So you start to do this recruitment, and you try to see, okay, do I have all of the advocates that I need for each product in every industry, in each country that the sales team is requesting? Because you are not driving proactively anything. You are just waiting and receiving those requests. But we at least know your track record, how many they are in which kind of advocates they are asking for, and you can plan for that. So you're being much more strategic with this model now. And let me see what else. You can also provide services for channels, and you have the chance to be data driven in many different ways. It still have problems. It's ineffective. It's not effective for customer retention. Those promises that we're saying, let's say customer retention, it doesn't necessarily fulfill that at all. A little bit, because when you're doing a customer story here, if you are helping, let's say, them to articulate your value proposition, they're happy because they're participating in activities with you. They're getting more networking opportunities in those cases, but it's not programmatically. And there's a problem that's also about this that relates to that, which is you probably have in this model so many unused advocates. Even if you're claiming to have, I don't know, thousands of advocates, you're probably using 5% of that. The rest of them are left unused in the database. And even though you do a recruitment, you say, okay, we can do great things, and then nothing happens. That's the problem that almost every program is suffering, because this model doesn't solve that. And but anyways, again, that's just how it is, and for this model, right? You're not proactively doing lots of things here, and so it has a low usage. That's the reason it's very difficult to say to brag that it will help your customer retention. It would definitely fulfill the promise that you do more sales, you close more deals faster, you have a better conversion rate, all that. It will impact a little bit in the customer retention. But again, since you have so many unused advocates, it will not be the case to brag about. And also, you have a very unbalanced gives and gets from those customers that they are participating in activities with you and advocacy activities with you. You're probably asking a lot from them and not giving back a lot, because you don't have you have a desk, a reference desk, almost. Maybe you have a swag here, something there that you do. Maybe you have a customer advisory board that you're bringing. But again, the customer advisory board is for a very small set of customers. You're not giving swag to everyone. Swag is not enough either. And that's one of the problems that you have with this model: unbalanced gives and gets. Low quality in the engagements and the relationships with those advocates is also a problem, and the sales teams, because since you are not using them a lot, you don't have plans for them. What happens is that when you need to use them, you don't have the relationship built. You need to go through sales teams. There's no other way. And when you talk to the advocate, who you are, and those things are not, they might just say no and say, okay, that's not relevant. I don't have any time. They are not invested on you, right? And so on and so forth. Let me see if low adoption of the program. Yeah, you have very usually low adoption of the program internally as well from the advocates. Then we have the community model. That's one that is great. As everything, it has problems and benefits, right? The benefits of what is the community focused model? It's usually it can be for any type, any size of companies, but usually we're talking about a forum, let's say, with a community manager that's promoting activities, planning content, and it's great for SMB. For post sales services, customers can help each other, and you can find people quickly, because this model tends to attract a lot of people. If SMB is something strong for you, that's usually one of the good ways to do. But not only, you can do communities again with CXOs, but those are again not the same. If you have many customers, if you're one of those big technology companies that have so many customers in the enterprise segment, you cannot do communities with all of them, because the community model is great when you can drive behavior of people through scoring systems. Let's say, do this, get these 10 points, do that, get 15 points, and then you can exchange points. And then you have a customer, let's say, journey. As much as you are earning points or getting more access to things inside the company, you're getting closer to the development teams, the product roadmap, influencing that. But but so that's one of the benefits. It's great for SMB, great for the breadth. Not you don't have in those cases. That's one of the problems. It's great for AR to drive public online reviews, for online positioning as a whole is mandatory. I would say it's very important. If it's your case, if it's a SaaS company, let's say with lots of SMB customers, this is mandatory. There's a lot of problems with this one. Let's say it's not an easy, it is everything you have to drive in sales and make people think about a model for customer retention, how they can integrate ROI, etc., or at least impact on sales, let's say. And This is a model that requires much more investment in time and money to make it, a pilot of that and start increasing. But if that's mandatory for you, there's no other way. For some companies, that's the way to go. And you can have, again, the previous services that we've mentioned, everything that a service desk, a reference desk has, the peer evidence program has, plus this community focus with apps and lots of automations, the recruitment side, that you need if you have a breadth that's big of customers, right? So let's go to the proactive model. And now we dive into the rest of the presentation, this proactive model. The proactive model is when it's a little transformation from a transactional model that we saw, like a reference desk. We're not even calling it advocacy program. And you go to proactive, from a transactional model to a proactive model. This proactive model, it's also very similar to a CSM practice, a customer success practice. Meaning that you have a plan. That's the reason in this picture we have a calendar here on thinner, because you are doing a calendar of activities with your best customers, and you have a great balance of gives and gets that you offer to that customer. They know exactly what they will get and how much they will give throughout the year. And you are doing something that we call, you're climbing a pyramid of advocates' needs. When you do that, when you do these nurturing activities and give them the opportunity to climb the pyramid of advocates' needs, that's when you are forging advocates. You are making your heroes. It's the way that they will become not just a reference or referenceable customer, or just a promoter. Let's say your NPS 9 or 10, and you'll become a real advocate. You are investing, you're forming them with many things, and it will show you how. It's much easier to also control seasonality. Those moments that your sales teams, let's say, most of them are on vacation. So organically in this model, let's say the reference desk, you will receive much less requests. Here, you can drive that up, and it will not, let's say, lower this amount of activity, because you are proactively basically looking for opportunities for your advocates, so they are always active, and you can call them advocates. It's not just a name in the database. Again, even if you have 100 names in a database, or 1,000 names in a database, or 20,000 names, it doesn't mean that they are advocates, because you don't know until you ask them, do you like to participate in this public activity? The moment that they say yes, they are being an advocate for you. And maybe you can consider them an advocate for a certain amount of time. And that's the reason it's very important to always keep pushing for activities with, because you're forming them and you're shielding them. It's a way to promote customer retention, because we're forming, again, advocates to have a plan for them. There's, as any model, there are problems with that. It's not that easy to scale. It's human laboring with this as a pilot, to show the value, show a clear ROI, show what you can do, and just keep getting more investment, because the money the companies investing are returning, and you can show that. But again, sadly, all of them. So you need to roadmap for yourself that we have all four models somehow being worked and showing as a pilot every day. So the proactive model, acting like a CSM. As I was saying, the first thing that I mentioned was that in this model, moving forward, guys, we are only talking about the proactive model, okay? So one of the things that we do here in this proactive model is we have this pyramid of advocates needs. Again, this on the left side is showing how your promoters can turn into advocates and how you do that climbing this. So your customers, they want status, recognition, empowerment, influence, learning, rewards, all of that. It's not one of them, it's all of that that will give them enough opportunities to be shielded and if you are in a highly competitive market, I would say that this is mandatory. So one of the ways to choose, okay, should I start this model with which set of customers? Not all of for all of your customers, but definitely for those key customers you don't want to lose. Make sure that you have these well worked. So the central piece of customer advocacy proactive model is the CASP. The CASP means this customer advocacy success plan. It's very similar to what the CSMs they do. Sometimes this is also done by CSMs. Don't forget that you as a advocacy program manager, you are like a V team lead that is cross-departmental organization. You lead this cross-departmental organization, and maybe one of the teams that you are partnering with, to not say lead, maybe that might be strong for them because they have their own bosses and you are just influencing somehow, is for them to work under this framework. It's you could have your CSMs, doing this for you. Sometimes they don't have time. That's probably what they're going to say. No, it's enough on my plate already, and you're just going to do that with your advocacy managers. In this case, I'm going to call it advocacy manager, not reference manager anymore, because you are doing an advocacy program. You have a clear gives and gets, and you're nurturing those customers and turning them into advocates, from promoters to advocates. So the CASP is where it's basically a calendar of activities. You have this customer name, advocacy managers, who is the advocacy manager side to that customer. You have recognition activity or advocacy activity, because you have to have both, again, balanced. Advocacy activities when you ask them, please do this for me, please take a call with my prospect, please do this review on the web. And the recognition activities when you give them a training, for free, a certification, a bottle of wine, a handwritten letter from your CEO. Here we add this activity with this, if it's advocacy recognition, which one is it? The related product implementation, the date of activity or the engagement, when it will take place. Okay, when you're recruiting that customer, or you are recruiting them for this model, even if it's already an advocate, you just recruit them again and say, hey, moving forward, I'd like to do more with you. Let me see, we can do all of these, and you show a menu like this, advocacy and recognition activities, where you have from C2C calls, to more things like participating in a customer advisory board or custom gift, etc. So of course, a few of them you're not showing the customer because you don't need to ask them. You just send them. You schedule that internally and send them. But with this, we don't have time. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of time at the beginning. I was going to show you two versions of these CASP in an Excel, and if you don't have a platform that can do that, but also on Podio, Citrix Podio, which is a platform that you can build forms for you and manage databases. And there we created for some customers, we created these whole and you can integrate with Slide 5, let's say, for instance, or your platform. And you can start having CASPs, these customer advocacy success plans. But know that I'm very happy to connect with you after the call, after these in the next weeks. Just ping me, and I'm happy to show you how to do that. Not gonna charge you to show you how to implement that. I'm very happy to give you, lots of tips so you can implement, so you can try by yourself. And of course, if you can help you somehow, we're happy to support your business. That's what we do at Things for You. But these fields, you can save it. Take it. You're gonna receive this presentation, so don't even need to take a screenshot. But those are the main fields, the mandatory fields that you should have. Let's say in your Excel or your database, if you're planning to have a CASP possibility. And from there, you can see on this left side, you are doing paths. You co-create nurturing paths with those customers. It doesn't matter, again, you are acting like CSMs. It doesn't matter if the voice is positive or the voice is negative. If you ask a customer, that you thought there's no reason for them to say no to, to your request to give you a participate in a C2C call, but they say no. That's a unique information that you have as an advocacy manager because maybe they don't have any tickets open with with the support just to complain about something. Maybe they are spending more and more with your company, but they're maybe not satisfied completely, and to the point that they will give a public reference. That's the best the indicator that they are not shielded, that it's very easy to jump ship, that this customer retention promise is not being fulfilled with this customer. And you can do a nurturing path here again. You can have a success plan for them, for this customer to recover that, even if it's not made by you. It's probably not going to be made by you if you're an advocacy manager, but you need to make sure that you are handing these off, let's say to the support, to the product teams. You are implementing something that's a feedback loop with the product teams where you say, hey, we have this problem and I'm opening this with you and I need a response, because the problem many times I would just, since we have little time, I would just go to feedback loop. Feedback loop is that thing that when you need services from the support team, okay, this customer is saying that they have performance issues, but they don't have any tickets. It's because, why? Because it's not all the time. It's here and there. They are complaining the teams, and it's making that this customer doesn't have a great perception overall to the point of being an advocate. So they don't have a ticket open, and you do that for them. You make sure that you can somehow derivate that to the support team. They will work with your customer and they will get back to you. So you go back to your CASP, Customer Advocacy Success Plan, and see, okay, this customer was recovered. You connect to them again and say, hey, now, how are you feeling? Maybe it's going to be a different, different perception. They will say yes to your activity. And that's how you are also making sure that this customer retention piece is in place, and but not the only. So this is the central piece of a proactive model. And as you can see, you cannot do this with all of your customers. That you could, but you need to show, of course, the ROI. And that's the good news, very important thing. So when you are in this proactive model, there's two things that you have to do to be successful. The company is doing this, they are doing. You need to look for new friends. You are not a siloed program. We know since the beginning that you are cross-departmental, but with this model, you go even more, like say, cross-departmental, because you need new friends. You need that guy from that person from the training program. They will give every year certain number of certifications vouchers for free, and you need to make sure that you capture some of them from their budget, and you have your best customers, in their CASPs. You are including that, and you are training them. You go to that person in the marketing as well, an organization that's giving away the bottle of wines that we were saying, and get from them some of those gifts and so on, for your customers. So you do those things and you map with them upfront and make sure that you follow your CASP throughout the year. That way you have this number of gifts, and yet that's the thing that we just mentioned. Some of you maybe will not understand right away. Some will, so I will just mention. But I'm happy again to talk to you deeply about this. The other thing, the second friends, you can get the older customer. They have a voice of the customer. Maybe someone else is doing the customer advisory boards. Maybe they have beta tester programs for early adopters. All of those programs and more, ambassador programs, loyalty requirements, and nominate your customers to join those other programs. And when you are doing your brochure, your program brochure, you are adding that as part of your program value, because that way you are integrating the whole customer's value that you have in your organization into one single umbrella for your customer advocacy program, even though they will keep managing that. But every program has a way, inputs and outputs, a way to get customers in, customer, and they will get failures and customer outs. So you just make sure that you are integrating your program, even if it's through nominations. And how you do that? When you have CSMs, you're gonna say, okay, this year we will have 5 customers into the beta testers program, because we're gonna launch this new amazing product in July and in November. And here are the requirements. I know because I talked to my new friend that's owner of this program, and I would just nominate my best customers. If they agree to approve, that's done. But the good thing is that you are acting for them in the name of your customers. You are managing, and at the same time, you are extending these gives and gets. And that's the reason you have to. When you can spot and you can know that you are doing this well, is when you have in your walking deck, presentation, customer advocacy main presentation, you are adding those values of third-party programs, internal, but third-party people. You are including the value that they generate as yours. It's when you are integrating the value, okay? So those are the 2 things you do here in this part. So again, I showed you this already. You can take a screenshot or just wait to receive. This is an example. It's not extensive, exhaustive. You have much more than this of things that you can do in terms of recognition activities, what you give them, and advocacy activities, what you get from them, and other things, as you can see, feedback loop from product, customer experience, and in this case, I mean support, other programs like customer advisory board, beta testing, ambassador programs, etc., and other internal services that you can give your sales teams, not necessarily to forge advocates. Okay, let's see, feedback loop already said. So that way, it's the way that you are also fulfilling. I already mentioned the customer retention. Already mentioned this more sales faster, and now you're doing a integrated ROI. If you're doing this well as well, your new friends that always had problems to calculate the ROI when they are giving away a voucher for training, now they have you, because you can go back to those guys and say, hey, do you remember that voucher that you gave to this customer? Here's how this customer is returning to you all of the, in terms of influence pipeline, influence revenue, and the investment that you did with your vouchers. And you can do the same, and you can calculate, okay, I invested this year in courses, in bottle of wine, whatever. I'm mentioning bottle of wine, but it could be anything. I'm just saying an example of a gift that you can give the customer, right? That's normal. And you can say I invested all these from all these different distinct departments, and the customer gave back to the company all influence pipeline revenue. And how I cannot be sitting and waiting because I don't have enough requests to fulfill this. To give opportunities. I have so many advocates unused left on the table because I don't have enough requests. And that's the reason you do these things that's called proactive fulfillment. You have to decide, you have to go to the CRM, scan your CRM for all open opportunities, and you do that every week, and you check all of the open opportunity managed could be a great fit that could go and influence and accelerate that deal. And you go to the opportunity owner that's in the CRM and say, hey, my name is Pablo from the Customer Advocacy Program. We do this and that. We have a great customer that can help influence these opportunities. You are owner because they're doing this and this and that. And do you think it makes sense to organize a customer call? Do you think it may? And you do the same with with the marketers. The marketing events of the year. You get the marketing calendar to do that. If you don't have a marketing calendar, you need to be friends again and plan that up from all of the webinars one to many customers, etc. But here in the slide, it has step by step what you have to do to is to not get any mails. Let's say they have tutors that we just flood them with the mails. No one wants that. That's one of the things that you do. Proactive fulfillment, that should be your best friend. You should be doing this all the time to make sure that you have enough opportunities and the right opportunities for your advocates, and you don't leave them unused. Okay, so The other thing is how to get started. We're talking about the management, right? It's very important that you have direct access to those guys that you are managing. You don't need to have direct access to the whole database because we know that sometimes you cannot do that. You need to go through sales teams because they are they need to check what's going on internally if they're selling something that's too sensitive. I know all of that. That should not be a problem. That's usually a problem with the sales, but it's the customer should be probably all right to do all of those activities. When you are managing those customers, we're constantly in touch. You should not have permission. You can copy the executives, and that's one of the agreements you have to do with the organization, so you fulfill requests faster in these cases. But this is 8 tips that I'd like to go as the last thing, because I think this is important, and how you can get started with this model. First, to define territory, right? Each advocacy manager is assigned to a list of customers. You're gonna say, okay, I have 5 advocacy managers in my company. Each one will get 25 customers, let's say. Okay, so you get that. The second thing you do, you introduce yourself to the account executives that are owning those customers and say, hey, my name is Pablo. I'm your new advocacy manager assigned to this customer that you are managing, etc. So that's what we do. We go with them. That's first email with a gift. We give them like a welcome gift, and that could be many things. The one that usually we do is a list of customer story matching their open opportunities. Those are account executives with opportunities in the CRM that are open, and you can just say, hey, I just did a work for you. I saw all of your opportunities you have, and then match, customer stories and access to you that you can use right away. Like, here's a gift, something that's already mapped for them that they can use to tell great stories of other customers and help them basically close this faster. They will definitely enjoy that, like that. The fourth thing you can do is communicate asks. You know that the account executives, they get flooded with asks. Hey, can you get me customer to be on a call? Can you get this for AR? And everyone is like asking over the top of your program, because you know that when preventing or activity over the top of your program, people are just going on the top of you and asking directly the account executives, can I get them for reference? And you just say, hey, every time moving forward, every time this happens, CC me. I'm here to protect you. The account executive will get this kind of email. You'll just say, hey, I'm CCing Pablo here. You will take of that. He knows the customer, he knows, and if it's a good time or not, if they are being asked too much too often, you will protect that. That's one of the things that you can do that truly better than every other models, is to protect against reference fatigue. Then you request a warm introduction to key customer contacts inside that customer. Say, hey, can you introduce me, 3, 4, or one customer for this product, one customer for that. You start small, getting warm introductions, so you can introduce them to the customer and schedule a call to interview them, see their preferences, and build together a CASP activities that this new advocate is willing to take moving forward with you. You build your CASP advocacy success plan, and that's the reason it's good to have a software, so you can have alerts. What's happening this week? I should be doing this and that. If you're a little bit late, it's not a problem. No one's gonna die. Nothing's gonna happen. You just do the following week, but at least you have a roadmap for each of you. All right, some of you are still here. I think that we're over time, and I'm happy to get any question by mail. I'll connect with you later for another moment. Thank you very much. Talk to you in the next sessions. Hope to see you around here, the event if you're here. Bye. No questions here.